G'day, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the 2 Plus podcast tactics series. Today, we're going to go further into the FBIGO or fallback in good order rule, which seems like it is the defining rule of the game system, in my opinion. So let's get stuck in.
Become a member and support the channel. Old World Tactics, Battle Reports, the 2 Plus podcast.
Okay, thanks everyone again for joining me. If you haven't already, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing on these videos. And if you want to, please support our Patreon. Description has the details. Let's get stuck into it though, because falling back in good order has come up in probably the last 5 or 6 games I've played where you can really manipulate the battlefield and turn a losing combat into an advantage for you. So the next example we're going to show you here is in a 1,000 point game that I played against Michael Bastow, who is affectionately known as the Oracle in this channel. And the maneuver allows me to create space on the battlefield to give me options for charging on my next turn. So here's how it unfolded. So on the left of screen, you can see my vanguarding boar boys with Frenzy declaring a charge on his vanguarding Chaos Knights. This is Heralds of Darkness v Nomadic War. Mike flees with his Chaos Knights over here, leaving my boar boys in a very precarious position, staring down some chosen Chaos Knights. Obviously bad news for my boar boys, but FBIGO to the rescue. So, as you can imagine, the chosen Knights charge into my boar boys. The boar boys manage to hold on with 2, which is great. And I obviously do no wounds to his chosen Knights. My Wyvern is within range, which means they've got a leadership of 9, which is awesome, and they're not more than double outnumbered, which the rule specifies. So it's 2 units, 2 models to 4, so unit strength 8v4. If it was 9v4, then I wouldn't have been able to fall back in good order. So it was very key that these 2 models survived and not just 1, because otherwise it would have been a break. But I roll and I managed to fall back in good order at the end of this combat. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of people would normally think this is how you fall back in good order. This is the only option you have, when it is definitely not, and there's so much room to explore with it. So as you can see here, this is the starting position. This is what a normal fallback in good order looks like. Interestingly, I always forget this part as well. You can add Swift Stride to a fallback in good order to further elongate that distance between your opponent and your losing unit, and to increase the chance of them not catching you with their pursuit roll. So this is option 1 for fallback in good order. Straight back in a line, let the unit follow up in a straight line towards you, and it's minimal impact on the battlefield. But this is where it gets interesting, because this is option 2. This is what you would, the first part of the maneuver. So as per the last example, you go straight backwards. But the rules of fallback in good order, which was I showed in my last video, the way it unfolds is you flee, you rally. And then as per the rally rules, you get a free reform at the end of that rally. So you can see here, I move back in a straight line, then I pivot on the spot. It's not a wheel, it's a pivot. This picture might not show that very well, but they have to turn on a pin rather than moving forwards. That way you can change your facing, which means this unit has to follow up and then close the door on you, creating a flank for a unit like this chariot. Now, I probably could have pivoted further to further open up this flank. I'd imagine that this chariot isn't actually in the flank, because a charge arc would probably go down here, which is not the entire model. Chariots are a weird one, where the rule in flank charges specifies the majority of the unit, I believe. Or something like that. The wording is a bit difficult it's a bit grey. So this chariot probably still ends up charging in the front there, but I would have been able to pivot a little bit more to fully open this flank, allowing a flank charge from my chariot into the chosen knights, which would have been huge. But there's another cool part about this opening that I've created here. If this unit went straight, their unit would have probably ended there, which meant that this chariot had one option to do, which would be charge into the front of these chosen knights. But because of this maneuver, I managed to open up the field even further for my chariot. So now you can see there's a channel here, which allows me to charge this chariot, or a channel here to charge these chosen knights. As you can see here, I chose Death and Glory and decided to charge the chosen chariot, which has countercharge. So I just wanted to see two chariots go at it, and they're pretty evenly matched. Black Orcs on top with great weapons and Furious charge against chosen guys with halberds. But I wanted to see the dice, put the faith in the dice and see what happened. But the interesting part of this was that it all was created from that fallback in good order. I could have charged into these chosen knights, and it was far enough to get my impact hits as well. But they were in a pretty awkward position anyway, so they would have had to test to reform after obviously beating my boar boys, and then the chariot would have just been able to charge something of his own. So this is the result. In the end, I charged the chariot, and my chariot wins. Takes a wound or two. I forget if it starts with 5, but my impact hits out impacted him essentially, was the difference, and I left my poor little boar boys to die. So that's just another tweak you can do with fallback in good order to just create options for you. Anytime you get a free move, it's huge. So any of those rules like countercharge, stubborn, which creates a fallback in order for you to reform, evasive, all of these moves, in my opinion, are very, very strong because moving for free is huge. But there you have it, guys. That is another way you can use fallback in good order to manipulate the battlefield to your advantage when you have in fact lost a combat. If you enjoy these videos, please like, comment, subscribe, and again, consider joining our Patreon or joining our free Discord. All the details to those in the description to this video, and we'll see you again soon for another 2+ Tactics video.